I've already shown you how to tweak Marlin firmware for the main board, but surely you can't also change the LCD graphics? Well, yes you can. Hopefully by now you've seen my other video on updating firmware and why you should do just that. One thing we didn't really cover too much was the LCD screen. If you've got a nice touch LCD screen like this, it's generally considered too hard for the average person to modify. Well, as you saw in the intro, there is a way to do it, and in this video I'm going to show you how. You'll only need one piece of software that costs money, and that is Adobe Photoshop, and even so there were workarounds without using that. The other piece of software we're going to use is simply for convenience, and on top of that, all you'll need is your tool set to take off the front of the printer and an 8 gig or smaller micro SD card. Let's have a look at the documentation so we can understand exactly what we need to do. In my previous firmware video, we used version 2.1.0, which at the time was the stable version. Since then, there has been another stable version, and it was a big one. It's version 3.00, and since then, there's been a very minor update. Been a lot of new features included in that, the big one being BL Touch support. If you go to the GitHub, you can see all of the other ones, including all of the bug fixes, and the newest one has bug fixes as well. What I've done is download the image file for the LCD display and also the source code as a zip. I've unzipped the mainboard firmware into my Arduino sketch folder. I've also unzipped the image file for the LCD, and now I'm going to use Win32 Disk Imager to write that to an SD card. If you don't do it this way and you download the other file for the LCD, you have to format the card in a specific way yourself. This is a tiny download. The only thing that can go wrong is making sure that you have the correct device listed. This will overwrite and destroy any external hard drive plugged in. So triple check that. For me it's H, and then it's simply a matter of hitting write, and after a minute or so your card will be imaged and ready. So the author of the firmware has this amazing page on his own personal website, and it's basically got everything he has learnt about this 3D printer presented here. If we scroll down, it's very, very rich in information. It's got the hardware, there's a section on all of the pins, there's a section on the different connectors with pinouts, and if we scroll far enough, we'll get past all of the hardware and up to the software, and that starts with the LCD touchscreen. By reading this, we can see what we need to do to modify the image files on the SD card. So scrolling down reveals that there's a program called DGUS SDK, and that's where you develop your screens and you lay out where all the pressable and interactive sections are going to be. And then up here it talks about the bitmap files that are needed to be overlaid with that to work together. So we do know they need to be bitmap in Windows format. We've got the resolution, they need to be 24 bits without alpha. And the last thing seems a little bit confusing, but it says a bottom-up bitmap. If you follow this link, it takes you to a nice page from Microsoft that talks about the saving order for the bits. Basically, we want the one where it reads from the bottom up. Now they suggest back on this page that you need to convert it using the specific program and the command line, but I thought I was going to use Photoshop, and it's pretty capable. So I came to Adobe Photoshop Help, and if you scroll down to the bitmap section, you can see that it's a standard format, and it says it's normally written bottom to top. However, you can select flip row order option to write them in the top to bottom. This article suggests that default mode that these bitmaps are going to be saved is going to be suitable for the SD card, and therefore we should be able to use Photoshop. So at this point I decided to have a look on the files on the SD card, and if we go inside the DWin set, we can see all of the bitmaps here. Basically, every screen that can come up in the interface has its own thing here, and for a lot of them there's two versions. So let's look at this example preheat one. We have our base screen, and if we go to the next file in the directory, we have one where all the bits we can press are highlighted in orange, and it's got a suffix _p. Basically, this is the file that tells the screen when it's pressed in a certain region to highlight orange to give us visual confirmation that we've pressed there. So the two go hand in hand, and that's very important. There's only one copy of all the boot ones, and it goes from 0 to 21, therefore there's 22 frames of animation. Also makes pretty interesting reading to have a look at the one from the default Cocoon firmware. This is available on the i3++ GitHub page. You can see we have all of the images here, and there's more than the aftermarket firmware for the startup animation. And although the file names aren't always as descriptive, when we open it up and then go to the next file, we have the same thing where things are highlighted in white for this case to highlight where the button presses are. So the first thing I'm going to do is a simple static screen, and I'm going to consider it like a hello world. So here we have file number 22, which is the main screen. I'm not worried about the orange overlaid press version at this stage. So all I'm going to do for this one is to drag a box around it and then switch to a paintbrush and select the background color and paint that in black. Finally, I'm going to get the text tool and put in the word test, and that's basically all I am trying to do. Can't see it because it's set to black. Let's put that to white and move it roughly into place. I don't want to have it too low. That's because you'll notice there's dark bits here where there's nothing written. The text will be added later on by the firmware, and under here there's a bit where it puts the version number of the firmware. So if I move anything down too far, it's going to block that and it's going to look terrible. But for now, that's going to do the job. So let's test our saving options. We come to Save As. We can set our file to bitmap, and none of those options have come up at this stage. So we're going to go to Save. We're just retaining the same file name for now. We're going to save and overwrite. And then here we have our all important options. So we need window, 24-bit, and we need to make sure this one is not ticked. Hit OK. The file is saved, and we're ready to put in an SD card and test if it worked. So we've prepared our first test file, and to make sure it's going to work, we need to remove the front of the printer. So let's get to the two grub screws that hold on the linear rail, and then there's two big hex bolts here which hold on the front panel. Just to make life a little bit easier, I've got these two 25mm test cubes which I'm going to put underneath the front of the machine to hold it up when the front panel is removed. We've got this off. Once again, take care that you don't unplug the ribbon cable. If you do, it's not the end of the world. Basically, there's a little black tab which flips up. You plug it in with the metal contacts facing the board. You flip back down the black tab to hold it back in place. Unfortunately, if you pull it out of the main board end, you're going to need to remove the bottom cover off the printer, but then the process is exactly the same. Let's get our micro SD card plugged into the printer and watch it update. SD card is in. Let's turn it on. Blue screen means it's detected the SD card and it's going to start flashing up all the images. It's going to do all of the ones in the folder, and we're going to be looking for our one amongst that. After that, it will load and we'll be able to verify that it has worked. Here we go, the opening animation, and then we have test. The reason it says unknown for the version of the firmware is that we have not updated the mainboard firmware. So let's power down the printer and complete that now, and then come back to our LCD experiments. I have two aims for this project. One is to put my logo on the main screen, and the other is to change the intro animation when the printer is first turned on. Here is what I've done for the main screen. It is simply the same file as my test file. I've deleted the test layer, and then I've pasted in my Teaching Tech lettering and logo. Just a reminder that you need to leave an area here blank because the version number for the firmware will come up, and obviously these parameters will come up under here. That leaves one more thing to do, which is the second version of this. So this is how you're going to do it. You're going to come and drag a box around this and then paint to delete it. And then what I can do from this one is to make a copy of everything on that layer. Then I can switch here and paste in place, and that should pretty much do it for the second screen. And what I'm going to do, like I did for my hello world, is to go to Save As, make sure it's on bitmap, and then overwrite the exact file name for each of those, and both of those are done. Really straightforward. Now the intro animation is also pretty straightforward as long as you know what you're doing in Photoshop. So just reminding ourselves, it goes from 0 to 21, so that's a total of 22 frames of animation. What we're going to do to start is to bring up one of these, put it in place, and like we have the other times, we will paint over the top to delete their one. This gives us the correct color background and also the correct resolution for our image to do as a basis. So the next step I've done is to paste in my logo and lettering in 3 stages, and to get it centered. You'll notice one of them here is the text, so I'll rename it to help myself. And then I have my two sets of stripes, this one being the outer and therefore this top one being the inner. Now a lot of people don't know this, but Photoshop is actually really good at handling animations and even a little bit of video. To enable it, we need to come to the window menu and then come down to timeline. And we're going to go with the one that says create frame animation, change it here if you need to, and then click the center button. The way this works is pretty simple. You basically make copies of your base frame, move something where you want it to go, make another copy, move it where you want it to go, make another copy, move it where you want it to go, and so forth. And now if we come back, we can cycle through our animation, and it works really, really well. I've just demonstrated this for position, but it also works for opacity of a layer and also some effects as well. So you can use the opacity to make things fade in and out of the screen, but all I'm after is movement. So I'm going to come down here and delete with the trash can my 4 frames. That gives me my one default one back. So what I'm going to do is to immediately make a copy, and then I'm going to use the shift key in conjunction with the keyboard and the move tool. That will move things in set steps. I'm going to move one set of stripes 27 steps sideways and down, the other set 27 steps sideways to the right and up, and then my teaching text 27 straight down. So let's get that done. Alright, we've got that done. So we've got our first and last frame, so let's switch the order. We're going to hold shift and select them both, and then we're going to come to this button here, which is tween, which stands for in between. We know that we want 22 frames in total, therefore we need to add 20 since we already have 2. And then we'll hit the OK button and let Photoshop do the magic for us. Okay, let's play our new animation. Everything lines up nicely. I'm going to do one little tweak. Notice that the first and second frame don't actually have anything in them. I'm going to select them both and then come to the trash can and delete them. That leaves us 2 frames short, so I'm simply going to click here twice to make a copy of that, and that just means my logo will be on the LCD for a little bit of time before the main menu loads. You notice here I've made a backup folder and I've copied the whole DWIN set to that. Therefore, if I make a mistake, I can quickly revert back to the ones that came with the firmware. And in that folder, I've also created one called New Animation, which is where I'm going to save this. Time to save. We're going to come up to File, Export, Render Video. Now here's the thing, by default it will be on Adobe Media Encoder, and that's for MP4s and things like that. But instead, we're going to put it on Photoshop Image Sequence. Now there's not too much we can get wrong here, we just have to make sure it's on a bitmap, and if we go to settings, we'll double check it's on Windows 24-bit and this is unticked here. Apart from that, it's going to add numbers to the end of our file name, but that's not going to be quite in the format we want, so for now, all we need to do is hit render. We can see in our new animation folder, it's got all of the bitmaps, but unfortunately the names for them are incorrect. We can see that we need 3-digit numbers starting from 0_boot, and that takes us up to 21_boot. So we've got 2 options. One is to go through and manually rename all of them. That's a little bit tedious, and there's a faster way if you don't mind downloading a free program called Irfanview. We come to File, Batch Conversion Rename. We make sure our folder is selected, and then we can add all of the files to that. And then we need to come to the options and set this up correctly. So we know we want number_boot. We want it to start at 0, count by 1, and all the rest can stay as is. We can hit OK, and then go to Start Batch. Once that's done, we can come to our new animation folder, and you can see we have everything here again except with the correct title, which means we can delete this original set. If you've done it correctly, it should go from 000 boot all the way up to 021 boot, and all we need to do with these files is to take them and switch to the SD card, paste them in and overwrite. Alright, that should be everything done. We've got our new boot animation, we've got our 2 new main screens. Time to put the SD card in the printer and see if it works. All right, I'm really excited to see that this works. I see no reason that it shouldn't. So let's promptly turn on the printer. Now it did come up with an error right at the end there, but I'm confident that after the SD card is out, which now it is, everything's going to work perfectly. How good is that? Everything is working. I'm feeling very relieved and also very accomplished. Nothing left to do but to put the front of the printer back together, but it won't be too long until it comes off. All that stuff about the BL Touch is very tempting. In fact, so tempting that I've got the parts ready to go. So if you want to see that in an upcoming video, hit that subscribe button. And until then, thanks for watching and happy 3D printing. G'day, it's Michael again. If you like the video, then please click like. If you want to see more content like this in future, click subscribe and make sure you click on the bell to receive every notification. If you really want to support the channel and see exclusive content, become a patron. Visit my Patreon page. See you next time.